It's no secret that the Wuthering Waves story is an adaptation of a collection of mythologies, with each region possibly focused on a specific cultural mythology. But this is only one half of the picture. The other half is based on real-life science and physics that we experience and use every day, that goes by a different name but follows the same principle. Everything we uncover in this video is built upon official information, so this video will hopefully provide a deep explanation to some theories out there, like Scar being Geshu, is Rover good or evil, and so on. Grab your popcorn and let's get into it. So who is Rover? If you've watched this video, you'll know that Rover is possibly an adaptation of Fimbitur, but that doesn't tell us who exactly Rover is in the game. In the Academy archive titled The First Resonator, we learn about the first ever Resonator on Solaris 3, and their description is exactly the same as Rover's. Same tacit mark location, the same forte display and appearance. The global trailer even mentions that Rover's abilities are the same as a legendary hero who once absorbed a Threnodian.
You possess a similar ability with a legendary hero who once absorbed Threnodian.
Well, this is great on the surface. We need to uncover the hidden details. Firstly, the time of analysis was indicated as the year of Wei, AL redacted. Wei is not directly indicated as the sentinel known as the Tail, but considering Hualong follows the adaptation of the 7 Eastern Mansions from Chinese history, it's certain that Wei is the name of the Tail Sentinel. The shelf that this archive is found on is also called the Wei Shelf. The AL after the year of Wei is likely to stand for After Lament. Much like we have BC and AD as popular terminology in real life, After Lament could be the Wuthering Waves timeframe. What's interesting is that the name of the First Resonator is redacted, but the story about the First Resonator is how they, together with Joy, defeated the Crowners in such a meaningful victory that it sparked the founding of Jinzhou City. This raises the concern of why is their name redacted or forgotten in history if they were such a significant figure? Why are they not with Joy's statue if they were seen standing together at the triumph of battle? And we will answer this in this video. The next significant part of the First Resonator's identity is that they are classified as a congenital resonator. But this is where it all starts to develop for us as players, because we have seen Rover's awakening to confirm it is congenital, so everything in the notes line up to call Rover the First Resonator, except for the science behind it. So what do I mean? Very quickly, because this is all in-game but we need to be on the same page, Resonators undergo a forte examination that tells us more about their abilities, and it's available in their character bio. They are classified into 3+1 different types of Resonators. Stay with me because there's a reason I say 3+1 and not 4. There are 3 scientifically occurring types: natural Resonators, mutant Resonators, and congenital Resonators. The 4th type is not a scientific adaptation, and it is the Artificial Resonator. We also do not have any playable Resonators that are artificial yet, so that is why I say it's not an actual Resonator classification. Natural Resonators have a random time in their life that they are awakened with their resonating powers. Mutant Resonators are tied to an incident that amplifies their emotional state to trigger their awakening, and congenital Resonators are born or awakened shortly after, with their forte usually tied to specific objects. For example, Jinchi and Joy, Alto and Mist, Encore and the Woolies. So what is Rover's congenital connection? Well, we actually saw the awakening of Rover, and it's Abby. The remnant frequency that Rover resonates with is Abby. That is what the opening scene of Wuthering Waves is. It is the resonance awakening of the Seed of Fate. Rover develops his or her forte. But the part that doesn't match Rover is the synteny results of the First Resonator. The First Resonator is capable of resonating multiple elements, whereas Rover could only resonate with Spectro at the start of the game. So what caused this difference? Let's answer it. From the Forte examination report, we also learned that the results are displayed on 3 graphs: the Rebel curve, the resonator waveform, and the resonance spectrum pattern. The Rebel curve tells you the classification of the resonator, so if they are natural, mutant, or congenital. The waveform is to monitor their frequency or forte amplitude, and the resonance spectrum pattern tells us the elements of the resonator. The possibility is that the Rebel curve in real life is called a resonance curve. We do not have an image of the Rebel curve in game, only a description. And this is a very important graph in physics, so I'm going to explain this as simply as possible because I cannot just spew random science. I actually need to relate it to the game and make it understandable as well. Resonators in Wuthering Waves are a combination of their natural human frequency and the frequency of their forte. This forte is akin to the remnant energy that is in tacitite, the material that every tacit Discord has on their core. When this combination happens in-game, it is called their awakening. In real life, the natural frequency is the rate an object will naturally vibrate, and it cannot always be observed by the human eye. When an additional frequency is added to the natural frequency, it is called resonance, and the possibilities are shown on a resonance graph. When these two frequencies resonate to become one, we need to measure the maximum amplitude. The amplitude is the maximum amount of displacement, and if this displacement exceeds a specific amount, we can deduce the dangers of this resonance. So how does this apply to our characters in the game? It's best explained with an example. Picture Chang-Li without any of her abilities, just an ordinary being with their natural frequency. And then picture her forte or resonance ability that has its own frequency. The resonance ability of a character is usually included in the CN version of character drip marketing. Global versions are yet to receive it. The combination of these two frequencies creates what we know as the Rabaul curve in-game. The game goes one step further to include descriptions for the Rabaul curve. Natural resonators have a non-convergent curve with a gradual stable rise. Mutant resonators have a non-convergent curve with a steep rise, and congenital resonators have a non-convergent curve with a periodic waveform. In real life, these slopes are controlled by a factor called damping. If you don't know what damping is, it is one of the most important factors in science to ensure safety for the use of everyday structures like bridges and buildings. A simple example that we can all relate to is an automatic door closer that you must have seen at some point in your life in school, work, hospital, the mall, or somewhere else. You'll probably notice that no matter how hard you try to shut the door, the force you apply is always caught and the door closes at its own controlled rate. This is because the door damper catches your frequency and dissipates the energy from it before adding it to the natural frequency of the closing door. The stronger the damping is, the less change is observed to the natural frequency with the addition of another frequency. So what is the damping factor in Wuthering waves? Well, the theory would suggest that damping is the emotional state of a resonator. Mutant resonators have a steep curve, which means they have little to no damping, and they are awakened when they have their emotions elevated. The awakening points being when their natural frequency and forte frequencies are the same. So before awakening, mutant resonators have a strong control over their emotions, therefore heavy damping, and this doesn't allow the resonance frequency to resonate with them. Natural resonators have always existed with their resonance ability, but it was just never awakened until a certain incident. This means their frequency does not need a major change in damping or their emotional state to reach their awakening point. Congenital resonators have their own natural frequency, but additionally have the natural frequency of another object, and their resonance ability then resonates with a combination of their character, their attachment, and their forte. What this means is that regardless of their emotional control or damping, they'll resonate with their frequencies thanks to having more than one natural frequency. And yes, in real life, objects can have more than one natural frequency. Resonators can then overclock, which means when their forte and natural frequency are the exact same, they will observe the largest change in themselves. They are then monitored to see how likely they are to reach this point. So now that explains 3 types of resonators, but what about the fourth? Well, I have 2 theories for this. The first theory is that an artificial resonator is not a naturally occurring resonator. It is a reverse engineered resonator. So the abilities and Rabaul curve of the artificial resonator is meant to mimic any of the 3 previous curves by forcing the frequencies rather than the character experiencing the changes. Evidence to support this is the quote of Savante that designs robots, and the major one is the goal of the Fraxidus. The Fraxidus fight for harmony or resonance between human and tacit discord, to evolve and overcome their lament, essentially by everyone becoming a resonator. The theory of an artificial resonator would explain why Scar has so many similarities to Geshu Lin. The same tacit mark, arm, purple accent, and glowing red eye. This would mean that Scar is the subject of reverse engineering Geshu Lin's frequencies. But before the tests, it's possible Scar was a different resonator, which is why he has the power of fusion in one state and the power of havoc in his other. The alternate theory is that an artificial resonator is literally just for any possible future collaborations in Wuthering waves. Someone like 2B from Neo Automata would be classified as an artificial resonator to tie in with wrote the lore. So now that we know so much about resonators and their abilities, why does Rover only have the power of Spectro at the very beginning of the game, but the first resonator has the power of all the elements? Well, we've established that a resonator's ability has its own frequency. The remnant energy, which is the form of this frequency, is seen as a little glowing particle whenever you pick up an echo and in some cutscenes. During the opening scene, when Rover enters the water, 5 of these remnant energy particles escape from Rover's body, possibly the 5 elements Rover does not have when we start the game. When Rover appears out of water, only 2 can be seen, one heading towards the Dreamless and one heading towards Black Shores. So what power is by Black Shores? Well, we could still be finding out, but one possibility is the narwhal. From the Tokyo Game Show 2022 trailer, the exact location of the narwhal is seen between Jinsho and Black Shore's west coast. But that was 2 years ago, so things may have changed. But this would explain why Rover does not have the powers of the first resonator, which means we can now confirm that Rover is the first resonator in some form. The outlying question is, why is the legendary hero not shown with joy and their name forgotten in time? That is all for this video. This is an extreme amount of information to unpack, but it is a possible theory that connects all the dots of the story. Let me know your thoughts down below, and I will see you in the next video.